Welcome to our YouTube channel. This is a special edition of The Point of View where we look at a national poll on governance issues in Ghana and also people's views about the upcoming NPP Flagbearer race. My guest is Mussa Dankwa. Very interesting numbers coming up. We'll look at how well the president is doing, how well people's economies are performing, and who is leading in the race to lead NPP into 2024. Stay with us. Welcome back. So tonight on The Point of View, my guest is Mussa Dankwa. Mussa is the executive director of what I'll call the leading polling agency in Ghana now, Global Info Analytics, Polls and Modeling. Mussa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bernard.
Wonderful. Today is a very interesting day. The NPP released a statement earlier where Justin Kodia Frimpong announced that all 10 aspirants had been cleared to contest in the presidential polls. Now, this is a very significant development, is it not?
Yeah, it is. There was some speculation about some people being dropped or something like that, but I think it's very good that they've all been cleared, and then you can test the popularity among the support delegates.
And this will be the first poll we've done after we know who the contenders will be.
Yes, yes.
Because prior to this, there were speculations. By April, we didn't know who was going to run. So this is interesting. I also need to say that this week, Kwabena Japan has launched his campaign live on City TV. And then I also had a long interview with Boachi Chairman Ting Ejakun as well. A lot more of them are showing interest in speaking. So it looks like things are picking up.
Yes, I think we've seen some of that noise in the poll. So when we get there, I think we can see some changes in the poll. Yes, yes.
But this national opinion poll is different from the one you did on delegates, specifically about who they were going to vote for. This is a general poll on what? Just give us an idea of what this national opinion poll is about and how regularly you do it.
This is the national opinion poll that addresses so many issues confronting the country. But we also zoom into the key NPP primaries and then also looking ahead into the general election. It is about the views of Ghanaian voters about who they may prefer or they would prefer to lead the NPP. So it is not delegates. There are preferences for whom they think NPP should elect to lead them in 2024.
And this is just the second part, because in the first part, you look at their views about the government, the economy, the president, issues around corruption, constitution. Then you move into the issue of who they'll vote for. So it means do you disaggregate your respondents on the basis of party affiliation and that kind of thing?
That is done afterwards, because when we are speaking to them, we don't ask them to identify who they are. Otherwise, that may skew the responses they give to you. So we speak to them about the broad issues on election matters, and then after that discussion, we begin to go into their demographic, about religion, their ethnicity, their educational background, and their party affiliation. And the party affiliation here, we don't mean the party that you are a member of. Which party do you normally vote for in an election? That is not the same as which party are you a member of, because you must be a card member to be a party member. So it is loose definition of party membership, or what we call party affiliation. And for those who vote sometimes NPP and NDC, they become floating voters. But for the first-timers, they haven't got a history of voting. So we ask them, who would you want to align yourself with as a first-time voter? Or I want to align with MPP or with NDC or floating voter or other parties, and they do tell us.
I noticed that in the breakdown of party affiliation, about 34% of your respondents say they regularly vote for MPP, 32 say they regularly vote for NDC, 17 describe themselves as floating voters, and then another 13 say they won't disclose. How did you come by this? Of course, there's 2% who are others, and then there's a couple of percentages each for PNC, CVPN. Did you come up with this breakdown on the basis of national figures, or this is just random?
No, in fact, we have no national figures when it comes to NDC, MPP. People have been speculating, NDC is this, MPP is that, but there's no data. There's no data. So what we are doing is that with this poll that we are conducting every 30 days, or 90 days, we are finding the moving average over a period of, say, 2 years. We will know exactly how many Ghanaians or how many voters are MPP and how many are NDC. Because you can't take just a snapshot of 1 or 2, 3 polls to say that this is the number. But for those we spoke to recently, in the last few days, 34% were MPP, 32 NDC, 17 were floating voters, and 13% said they don't want to disclose their party affiliation to us.
And this is consistent for April as well?
Yes, yes. In fact, we didn't used to have not disclosed. So you realize that people were just taking a cover under other parties. And we realized that the other party was having too high compared to what we know in the elections. So we realized that no, this might be people who want to hide their true party colors. So let's create a room for them where they can conveniently converge and hide.
Wow. So it means that while NDC and NPP have strong numbers, the real big story here is that between floating voters and undisclosed voters, we have a healthy almost 30% of voters.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work to be done among that group.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is consistent with the April survey as well?
Absolutely consistent, yes.
Amazing stuff. Also, the other question is, so again, for those who don't know, we have 275 constituencies in Ghana. We have about 15 million voters. So if you go and sample 82 constituencies and you talk to 6,100 people, why on earth will that be a reflection of what the nation's sentiment is? What is the science of sampling? Explain that in simple terms for us.
You know, when it comes to statistics and sampling or polling, you cannot realistically talk to every voter in this country, or you cannot even talk to even 10% of them. I mean, that would be to exercise in futility. But there's a science that suggests that you can pick a sample from the population, which is now about almost 70 million voters that we have. Now, when you pick that sample, if you have been able to deploy that sample properly, using the right sampling instrument, the results you'll get from the feedback from that sample will reflect the reality if you go around talking to everybody. So once the sample is well administered, devoid of biases, and deployed properly, believe me, within the confidence level that you have set for yourself and within the margin of error, if you translate this to the general population, the results will not be too different.
On the general questions that were asked, what is the biggest headline in this poll for you? Let's not get into the NPP yet. The general national opinion polls about the approval rating of the president, how people feel about the economy. What would you say are the top one or two big takeaways from this survey?
First is the direction of the country. People's view about where the country is headed has improved significantly.
Compared to April?
Compared to April.
Can you show that to me? Direction of the country in July compared to April, there's a marked improvement.
Marked improvement. I mean, in April, 71% of voters said that Ghana was headed in the wrong direction. Now, that number has reduced to 63%.
Wow.
Yes. That's quite about 8%.
8% drop in those who think the country was headed in the wrong direction.
Yes, between April and July.
What about those who think the country was going in the right direction?
In the right direction, it's moved from the level of, I think, 19% to 26%, which is quite a huge jump. Usually what you find is that people move from wrong direction to no opinion in transition, and then they move from no opinion to right direction. But this time around, they move from wrong direction direct to right direction, which means that they have felt some impact within themselves in the last period.
I'm sure viewers can deduce what has happened between April, May, June, and July. I think the IMF program was concluded in May. There appears to be some economic reprieve in the system. We are not trying to justify the numbers, but it seems to me as though...
It may be linked, because when that burden was lifted on our shoulders, people felt that, okay, now we think we might be heading in the right way.
Wonderful. The biggest headline for you in relation to how people feel about the country is that there's a positive view.
Absolutely.
Between April 2023 and July 2023. So that's the first big story. Before we get to the second big story, is this positive uptick for all categories of voters if you look at party affiliation? Or are there differences in how people's voter preferences influence how they see this result that you've shown us? This 71 to 63, 19 to 26 improvement.
Yes, I mean, if you look at the people who said they were NPP affiliates, their views is quite different from the other voters.
Okay.
When it comes to NPP, about 49% of them believe that Ghana is headed in the right direction.
About half of NPP voters.
Yes, about half of NPP
think
voters
the country is headed in the right direction.
Right direction.
Okay.
But 41% said it is headed in the wrong direction.
That's still a lot.
That's still a lot, yes. 41%.
So 2 out of 5 NPP voters think the country is in the wrong direction.
Yes, yes.
And then 1 out of 2 think it's right.
Right.
That is interesting.
And then you have 10% saying that they have no opinion.
Wow. Which could be, well, that's interesting. What about floating voters?
Now, floating voters, only 15% of them think that Ghana is headed in the right direction.
Wow.
That is much lower than the average for the entire country. Yes, because we said that about 34 said right direction.
Actually, 26.
26%. So the floating voters are much lower than the average for the country.
Wow. So floating voters have a dim view of the economy.
Dim view of the direction of the country, yes.
And they are the 3rd largest chunk.
Block.
And then what about the undisclosed?
The undisclosed to the same. 71% of them think that Ghana is headed in the wrong direction.
Because you said floating voters are 17% of your respondents.
Yes.
Undisclosed are 13%. So together they are 30%.
Yes.
And for those 30% of voters,
averagely around 72% of them are saying that
the country is not going well.
Yes.
Wow. And then of course you did for NDC voters.
Yes, NDC voters, 85% said that we are headed in the wrong direction. Only 7% said it's the right direction among NDC.
So floating voters and undisclosed tend to be a bit closer to NDC view than NPP view.
Yes.
NPP view is really very far off.
Yes, yes.
49% say right, 41% say wrong.
Yes.
NDC 85 say right, 85 say wrong. 7 say right,
yes.
And then floating and undisclosed about 75%.
Yes.
Wow. So 4 out of 5 floating voters think the country is not going in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So that's like the national average,
Absolutely.
which then goes to the average. You got 26% saying right.
You see, what you can also see is that the increase in the number of people who said we are heading in the right direction was as a result of NPP numbers improving.
Okay, because in April, NPP voters were at a dim view.
Yes, yes.
So NPP voters have changed their views a bit.
A bit, yes.
The second big issue was with what?
I'll say the performance of the president, approval rating of the president.
So this is a separate question
from the
direction of the country.
We want people to assess whether the president is doing his job satisfactorily or not.
And what did you find?
And the response was that 60% of voters believed he's not doing well.
So 60% disapproval?
Yes.
And what percentage approve?
34% approve.
I see.
And
how different is this from April?
April was 65% disapproval.
So it's
improved.
So his disapproval rate is lower.
It has come down.
And his approval rate has gone up.
Has gone up. And this matrix goes hand in hand with the direction of the country.
Very interesting.
Yes, they move the same direction.
Although, on average, there appears to be... So the president does a bit better personally than people's view of the country.
Yes.
Because his approval rating is 34%.
34%. And the other one is...
26%,
yes. Direction of the country, 26%.
That's interesting. So both the president and people's views of the economy has improved between April and now. Again, those of you who are data miners can find out what he's been doing between that period. But how significant is his approval rating jump from 29 to 34? It's 5%. Is it that big?
You know, from what we've seen in the past, it's big.
5%
normally
approval rating.
He improved by 2%, 3%, but this time around...
So it is significant?
Yes, it's significant.
So those are the two big stories. Did you do this approval rating on party affiliation? Any insights there?
Yes, we did, as usual. And that's where you also see the differences along the party lines. Among NPP sympathizers, 60% approve of his performance.
Okay. 60% approve of his performance?
Yes. And then disapproval is 38%.
Wow. Among NPP voters?
Voters, yes.
Wow. And then among floating voters?
It is 23%
approval,
67% disapproval.
And then those who support other parties or won't disclose?
The won't disclose is 31% approval and 55% disapproval.
Wow. So very similar trend to
it's very similar.
Country. Yes. He does better than how people see the country. So as a person, He's enjoying a bit more favor.
It has a bump now. It's gotten a bump from the poll numbers, as we say.
But what about NDC voters?
It's 82% disapproval.
82% disapproval.
And 13% approval from the NDC folks.
That shouldn't be surprising.
No.
What, apart from these two questions of where the country is going and how the president is doing, what else did you ask on a general views about the economy, about the country?
We did ask also about the performance of the government in particular.
So this is not just Akufo-Addo, this is the whole government?
The whole government.
Okay, and what did you get?
In that instance, 46% of voters said they have performed very poor or poor.
Close to half?
Close to half.
Very poor or poor?
Yes. And then average is 29%.
Which is neither here nor there. We don't know what average means. About 30% say average.
Average.
A honeyho.
And then those who said very good or good is only 18%.
This is overall vote, over all the voters?
Yes.
What about those who say is doing very, very, very well?
7%.
So 25% positive view, 46% negative view, and then 30% like neutral view. This is not good.
No, it's not good.
This is not good.
It's not good.
It's not good for the government. So collectively, the government isn't seen as doing that well.
No.
Wow. All right. What about people's personal economies?
Yeah, that's also very interesting part that we found out. We asked them to describe their standard of living in the past 12 months. And those who said it has improved has gone up from 16% to 19%. So you can see the positive field has...
Standard of living in the past 12 months has improved.
Has improved.
19% said it had.
It has, yes.
What about those that had worsened?
It has worsened. It has dropped from 54% in April to 45% now.
Wow. So clearly, the IMF program conclusion, whatever, April and July, positive things are going on.
Yes, definitely in the polls.
Amazing. What about those who say it's unchanged?
Unchanged has gone up from 25 to 29%.
So this issue with the ambivalence, floating voters, undecided, is a big chunk. There are people who are not sure.
Yeah.
And who are not clear where their mind is.
Absolutely.
Wow. So 45%. So those who say their living conditions had worsened dropped by almost 10%. So that means that things may not be as bad now as they were. If this trend should continue...
If that trend continues, it will help the government.
Yeah, that's very, very, very remarkable to see. What about... So this question was about the past.
Yes.
Did you ask a question about the future?
Yes, we did. For those who said it's gotten worse or it hasn't changed, we asked them, were they optimistic or are they optimistic that it would improve in the next 12 months?
So these are those who gave negative or neutral answers?
Yes.
You wanted to know if they were optimistic about the next
12 months.
I hope they were. Were they?
No.
They were not?
They were not.
Wow, what did you find?
57% said no, they were not optimistic.
Wow. They were not optimistic about the next 12 months?
No.
And then who said they were optimistic?
About 27% said yes, they were optimistic.
So it doesn't even follow that July being better than April means that October will be better than July. It doesn't necessarily mean that.
It doesn't necessarily mean that. It depends on where the CD and the economy will be.
And mind you, it was a year ago around this time, actually a year ago around August, that everything started going down.
Yes.
So between now and October, we need to be very careful what happens in the economy.
Absolutely.
Very interesting point. We're still talking to Mussa. Did you ask any other question in terms of the general issues?
Yes, we did ask about corruption, as we normally do, about the views of voters on corruption. And in fact, in April, 58% said it is getting worse. Now it's dropped to 53%. So you can see some positive also in the corruption.
5% drop in those who say corruption is getting worse.
Yes. And those who said it is the same has gone up from 20% to 25%. So
the value is the same?
Yes, so they just move from worse to is the same.
So it's still not positive?
It's still not positive.
Does anybody think corruption?
Because the improvement hasn't changed, largely.
15 to 15?
Yeah.
So most people who saw corruption was getting worse probably said it's just the same?
Yeah. And then those who are saying it's improved, in fact, dropped by 1%.
Wow. Wow. Do you have a proper trend analysis? Because we're asking the corruption question since the beginning of last year.
Yeah, since January.
Can you tell me anything about people's views about corruption? We have seen special prosecutor and all these issues coming up.
We started around January.
Okay.
And in January, about 43% of people said it's getting worse, 43%. Mm-hmm. In April, it went up to 54%. Mm-hmm. In July 2022, it went up to 62%.
So getting worse is the red line.
Red line.
On top.
Yes, the red line.
January last year, peaked to 62 in July, a year ago.
Yep.
By January this year, 64, also high.
Yes.
Then sort of positive views. So it starts, the red line starts coming down.
Coming down, yes.
But those who say that it's
improving, that's a green line. It's really wobbly around 23 to 15%.
Very low.
But it's still low. The lowest point was in July 2022 when the economic bite really hit.
Wow. I thought this is interesting. So the 1.5 year trend analysis doesn't really tell you that things are improving that much.
No.
When it comes to the state of corruption.
Corruption, no.
All right. Did you ask any question about anything else?
Yeah, we did ask them whether they think the government is fighting corruption enough.
And what did they say?
62% said no, it is not fighting corruption enough.
That's not surprising, looking at the figures.
Yes. Only 23 said yes, they were fighting corruption, and 50% had no opinion.
All right. And then you asked a couple of questions about the Constitution.
Yes, because there has been a talk about this amendment of the Constitution, all those issues. So we wanted to test to see whether the voters really back that idea of changing.
So what did you ask about the Constitution?
We asked them whether the Constitution addresses our needs and challenges as a country.
And what did they say?
They disagree.
Half of them say Constitution does not.
Does not.
Half of the voters you interviewed.
It doesn't address our needs and challenges.
Wow. There's a dim view of the Constitution.
Oh, yes.
Half of them.
Yes.
And then another 28% said it does.
It does.
22% said they have no opinion.
They have no opinion.
That's not good. What about Constitutional Amendment? You asked about Constitutional Amendment.
Yes, we did. For those who, we asked generally to everybody, do they support any changes to the Constitution?
What did you see?
62% said yes.
No kidding?
Yes.
62% of voters
want the Constitution to be amended.
Want Constitution amended?
Yes.
Is this the first time you've asked this question?
This is the first time.
You probably need to ask it a few more times.
We'll keep that as a tracking poll.
62% of respondents. Well, if you're looking for a headline, there you have it. From this first part, 62% of respondents said they support constitutional amendment. Of course, this doesn't drill down to what specific things. It's just a general question. But 50% think the Constitution is not doing well. They don't like Constitution and it doesn't address our needs. 62% say they support constitutional amendment. We'll let that sink in. We'll take a break. Tonight, on a point of view, we're just going through the numbers. Global Info Analytics have done work on views on the country generally. When we come back, we'll delve into what they think about the new Patriotic Party. They are aspirants for flag bearer. There are 10 of them now. Who's leading? Who's done better now than they did in April? Who's losing ground? And what can this tell us about the upcoming delegate conference or Congress in August? And of course, the big one in November. My guest is Mussa Dankwa, Global Info Analytics. Stay with us.
With Glovo, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Glovo deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Glovo. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Pepsodent introduces charcoal and lemon essence. The unique combination of natural essences whitens teeth naturally for you and family because every smile matters. New Pepsodent Herbal. Introducing a unique combination of herbal extracts in an antibacterial toothpaste for strong teeth and healthy gums that protects your family and you. Every smile matters.
Welcome back to The Point of View. Tonight we're delighted to have Mussa Dankwa, who's the Executive Director of, I think, Ghana's leading polling agency, Global Info Analytics. They've released their latest national opinion survey on governance issues and elections. 3 big headlines. The people who think the country is headed in the right direction have improved slightly from around 19 to 25-ish, 26%. There's also a positive uptick, about 5% for the president approval rating. And then, of course, the big issue, about 62% of the respondents support some level of constitutional amendment or changes in our constitution. All right, let's now come to what issues matter to Ghanaian voters, and then let's talk about the NPP, who are in the news because of their campaign for flag bearer. The next big question was the key issue for voters. What did you seek to find with this question?
Usually, we want to know from voters what are their top 3 important issues that matter to them, that they will take into account before they vote in 2024. So we have so many issues, but I want them to pick the top 3. And the top 3 issues so far from the voters are the economy, 18%, jobs, 17%, education, 15%. But then you have corruption coming to 4th now, and rules 5th. So corruption has been much lower before, but it's creeping up. Yes, it's jumping up.
Why do you separate taxes from the economy? Because taxes is only 4%.
No, but you see, when you make economy, people look at the general well-being of the economy as the economy. The taxes are still seen as a separate issue.
So economy is how do I have money? Are things going well? Do I have money to pay? So that's economy.
That's economy.
And then you have separately jobs, because some people can say jobs is under economy.
We understand that, but voters, they say ejuma or ejuma niho.
So if you add economy to jobs, that's 35%.
Absolutely.
That's big. If you even add taxes to that, 40% of the issues are economic issues.
Yes, economic issues.
You could even add roads. If you wanted to be technical.
Yes.
So economy is 18, jobs is what? 17.
Job 17.
Education is that's interesting. Education.
Yeah.
Does this education figure vary with school reopening and things like this?
It does tend to correlate. When they have issues with education, then it jumps up again. Jumps up. When the issues are resolved, then it goes down.
So
when
education is not always third. So in April, education was number 3.
Sometimes it's been third, but it's distance third.
But now it's much closer.
Much closer, yes.
And this when you say key issues for voters, this assumes what worries them.
Yes.
When you say what issue will you vote on,
yes,
you are impliedly asking them what are they how?
Yes.
So it's not a positive answer if they
so
if education is number 3, it's not positive.
Look, okay.
Or it could be.
But the way we do it, we don't give examples of these issues.
So what do you ask them?
So when it comes to education, is it a priority for you? Is it important? Not because school feeding is working.
So is it a votable issue?
Votable issue for you. But if you lead them and say, free education, they will go positive.
I get you. So you make it neutral.
Neutral, yes.
But there's a sense in which these responses look like people's problems.
They are people's problems.
Because in Ghana, people vote against, they don't vote for.
No, but some people vote for, especially when it comes to education.
So you're saying I shouldn't take education as a negative answer? It could be positive.
It's just an area they will be concerned with. So if they feel that it is going well, then it goes to the government credit. If it's going bad, it's going to go against them.
So I think Dr. Duchu will be looking at this and not be as concerned as Finance Minister would be.
No.
Because if you look at economy, Finance Minister will know
that things are not well.
But education may say, let's drill down and see.
It's just maybe the feeding that is problem or something like that, yes.
Wow. And then, but roads is 4th.
Yeah, road is 4th.
We tend to get a lot of road stories in the media. If you look at the city news, on average, every week when I do newspaper review, I get like 3 or 4 road issues every 2 days. And most of them are negative. If you don't do the road, we're not going to vote. I'm a bit surprised it's only 9%. Of course, this is about 10 issues.
Because the issues have been trumpeted by economy and jobs.
Yeah.
So that is, even though rules are very important, if it would be interesting to see constituency by constituency what the ranking are, because these numbers may not be the same for constituencies or the regions. In some regions, rules are not even what they think about. So if you look at the regional breakdown, you could see that the regional breakdown for priorities will be different from Accra, will be different from the Ashanti region.
So you're saying that somebody who doesn't have a job will be more concerned about having a job. So somebody will prefer having a job to a bad road than having a good road and not having a job.
Absolutely.
That's a very good insight. So the government needs to focus more on jobs.
Yes.
If somebody is working, even if he lives at a place where there's no road, at least he has a job.
He can manage.
But if he doesn't have a job and you do a road for him, he's still angry.
He's still angry.
That's quite an insight. So economy and jobs 35%, education 15%, and then corruption 10%, which is bigger than it was in the past.
Yes.
So the government should be worried about this.
Yeah, and unless they're able to bring down the perception of corruption down, this number could come back and hand them.
Healthcare is 8%. In fact, petroleum prices, which is also economy, is 6%. So if you want to be very surgical,
you have to add
economy, jobs, health, roads, petroleum price and taxes is over 45%.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Security is only 3%.
Water and sanitation, water 2%.
Religion is 1%. Party member 1%. Ethnicity 1%. Well, some of them are lying. People vote based on ethnicity and they vote based on those things, but they won't tell you.
No, you see, it is when there are no stark differences, then those things become voting issue. But when somebody is thinking about the economy, his job, those religion and ethnicity really don't play a key role here.
Wow. So if this trend continues, 2024 will be an economy election.
Definitely going to be an economy election.
Wow.
Because it is the number one issue.
Number one issue is economy. I know you drilled this down later when you look at preferred presidential candidates. You drill this later. So all in all, from the first part of your poll, you can say between April and July, things have looked up a bit.
Yeah.
But there are still major problems for the government.
Absolutely. Major problems on the economy, jobs.
Wonderful. Let's come to the NPP now. So when did you take these numbers? When did you take the...
It was between 30th June and 7th July.
30th June and 7th July. So immediately after Asin.
Yes, yes.
And wow. So this is just last week.
Last week, yes.
By which time we knew who the aspirants were because they were being vetted.
Yes, yes. We knew
they were being vetted. You knew all the 10.
Yes.
Good. It's only today that they announced that they'd all gone through. But in April, we didn't know
who was going to go through.
We just knew the names.
The names, yes.
Great. What's the biggest story for this part of the survey in terms of the NPP voters? The NPP candidates?
The biggest story is that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is now the preferred candidate to lead NPP among all voters.
Among all voters.
He's never been in this position before.
So in April, when you sampled voters from all sides, Bawumia was not leading.
He was 29% and Alan was 30%.
At the time, Alan was already campaigning because he had resigned in January.
Yes.
But when Bawumia picked forms, July, Bawumia is now moved from 29 to what?
To 36%.
7% jump.
Jump, yes.
And Alan has also
jumped to 33%.
From 30, so he's also done a bit better.
Yes, it's gone up 3%. And
what about?
Ken too went up 2%. But what happened was that in April, there were a fraction of people who were saying someone else. But when the files or nominations were open, we knew who was going. So you can't say someone else any longer.
So someone else is now zero?
Zero. So
because they know who the 10 are.
Exactly. So those on the 12% realigned themselves to Bawumia.
Bawumia got 7, Alan got 3, Kennedy got 2.
He got a lot more from that.
Let's go back to the original chart. What about the others? Because yesterday when I interviewed, 2 days when I interviewed Batie Ejako on Monday, he said that the 8 were talking among themselves, and I assumed the 8 were everybody except Bawumia and possibly Kojopoku.
Okay.
Because the discussion was around the older candidates.
Okay.
So in the sense I got from the interview was that the 8, apart from Bawumia and Kojopoku, are speaking to each other.
Okay.
was there a clear outlier in the race apart from Alan and Kennedy? So Alan is second, Kennedy is third. Show me that chart again. What else came out of that in terms of the 10 of them?
In fact, the next behind Kennedy is Kwabena Ejepon.
Who launched his campaign yesterday?
Yes. He is on 1.5% now. And that was a leap from a much lower number in April.
1.5%?
Yes.
And then after him was who? After
him, we have Dr. Owusu
Efiri
Akoto.
1.1.
1.1%.
Then you have BA is Boache
Jako, 0.9%. And Kujopoku, 0.7%. Diogati, 0.7%. Dr. Kofi Kunyada Praku, 0.6%. And Francis Adai Nimo, 0.4%.
Wow. Of the people here, Kennedy, has he launched his campaign already? He's already campaigning.
He's already campaigning.
Alan has launched his campaign.
He has launched his campaign.
Has Bawumia launched his campaign?
Yeah, I think he has. Hasn't he?
I'm not sure.
I don't know, but
he has announced.
But he's, on what basis is he going round then? He's been going to conferences.
He's announced his bid. He's picked his forms. He's gone for vetting. But if you look at the sense in which Kwabena Ejepon launched his campaign yesterday,
Bawumia hasn't done that.
I don't think he's done that.
Okay.
So I'm thinking, because Alan did launch his campaign.
But I feel the submission of his form
is a campaign.
What was taken as a campaign
because
launch.
As a vice president, he may not be able to
yes.
launch a full campaign because it's still working.
Yes. I believe people took that as a launch. As a campaign launch, yes.
And do you think that gave him a bump?
Yes, it did.
Interesting. So Bawumia has jumped from 29 in April to 36%.
Yes.
This is the big story for you.
Yes.
Kennedy improved from 23 to 25. It's very small. And Alan 30 to 33. So it's still a 3-horse race.
Yes.
It's still a 3-horse
either
race.
from a delegate or even among all Ghanaians.
So this is for all voters.
All voters.
So this includes MPP. Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
Yes,
okay.
yes.
You are doing a poll on MPP delegates separately.
Yes.
That will come out later.
Yes, that will come out later. Yes.
Now, did you disaggregate this for MPP voters?
Yes, we did. That's where the story gets a bit different.
Okay.
In that category, you realize that Bawumia, who was then on 39% in April, and Alan 37%, and Ken 21%, Bawumia has now jumped from 39 to 50%.
People who say they vote MPP,
yes,
Bawumia is half of them already.
Yes.
And Alan has dropped
4% to 33%, the same number as his national approval.
Very interesting.
And Kennedy slipped much bigger, from 21 to 16 among MPP sympathizers.
Because when we did this last discussion, I think it was June, when you did the delegate poll,
Ken was around 12.5%.
And he was on the up.
Yes. This is the first time he slipped.
But this is for MPP voters.
Voters, yes.
Do you have reason to believe that MPP delegates will be different from MPP voters?
It will be difficult to say, but having spoken to them before the campaign launch, and some of the quiet chat we've had with them, they may be probably tighter race in the delegate than the MPP supporters.
Because these are general supporters?
Yes.
But to jump from 39 to 50 is serious.
It's huge. It's huge.
In 3 months?
Yes.
Bawumia, and this, is there a correlation between this and the economy thing you discussed earlier?
Yes, I mentioned to you that, his numbers were bumped because generally a lot more MPP supporters are saying the president is doing well. They are more optimistic about the direction of the country. So these two are feeding into the Bawumia support. So there is a link between how Bawumia does in the poll and what happens in the people's perception of the country's direction, and to a large extent, Nando's performance. So
among MPP voters, any positive view of Akufo-Addo or the economy
benefits Bawumia.
Which is interesting because today on radio we're discussing the message of the other 9. And it was clear that those who were trying to talk about the economy's downward spiral may not be doing themselves a favor because MPP people don't want to hear that.
Absolutely. In fact, I was even going to look at the views of MPP delegates, and the direction of the country and the approval of the president,
Yeah.
you could see that they are aligned more strongly with a positive feed. So you must really watch out the way you run the campaign with the MPP, because the delegates are having a different kind of.
So delegates want to hear what they want to hear.
Yes.
They don't want you to tell them that things are going bad.
No.
Wow, that's interesting. So Bawumia has jumped from 39 to 50 among all MPP voters.
Yes.
You did something called delegates versus voters, but I feel like that's a red herring here. What about floating voters? What's the big story of floating voters?
The big story is that Alan is the preferred choice of floating voters.
Has this been consistent throughout?
It has been consistent throughout.
Because you said to me that Bawumia is popular among MPP, but Alan is popular among everybody else.
Everybody, yes.
And this is, so floating voters who are 17%,
yes.
Alan has 4%.
41%. Between Alan and Kennedy, they have 66% of floating voters.
Kennedy's floating voter thing baffles me.
Yeah,
because he seems to be a
does.
hardcore MPP person, because his message is an MPP message. But to get 25% among floating voters,
it's quite shocking. In fact, he's much more popular across the country than within his party.
Are you serious?
Yes.
As in, when you look at the regional breakdown of
yes.
Kennedy Japan,
yes.
he's very popular across the country
than within MPP as a fraternity.
That is significant. Maybe we can look at his media outreach. That is interesting. So Alan is the most popular among floating voters.
Absolutely.
Bawumia is popular among MPP voters.
Yes.
Did you do a regional breakdown for MPP voters? Because I wanted to see which region supports which of them as MPP voters only, not general, just MPP. What did you find there?
In that, I think Bawumia is very dominant. In Ahafo region, he leads in Ahafo region, 70% to 17%. If you come to Ashanti region, Bawumia 45%, Alan 34%, Ken 20%. In Bono region, Bawumia is 59%, Alan 14%, and Ken 24%.
So Kennedy does better than Alan in the Bono region?
Bono region, yes.
What about Bono East?
Bono East, Bawumia is on 5.2, Alan on 32, and Ken 12%. When it comes to Central
Previously,
region,
Central was Alan's strongest region.
Yeah, but now Bawumia, when you look at it overall among all voters, Alan is still popular in Central. But here, we're talking about just MPP supporters.
Bawumia still leads.
45%, Alan 39%, and Ken 16%.
Wow.
And then Eastern region, Bawumia is on 46%. And
Alan and Kennedy
26.
are 25, 26.
Yes.
So Kennedy is very strong in the Eastern region.
Very strong.
Very strong in the Bono region.
Absolutely.
Incredible. What about Greater Accra?
Greater Accra, Bawumia is on 47%. And Alan 38%, and Ken 14%.
Among MPP voters?
Among MPP voters.
Northeast is where Bawumia is from. What
yes, 78 for Bawumia and 22 for Alan.
Wow. And Kennedy doesn't get anything at all?
No.
What about Northern region?
The Northern region is quite interesting. Bawumia is on 50%, Alan 42%. It's much closer.
In the Northern region?
Northern region.
What about the OT region?
OT, Bawumia is on 63%, and Alan 31%.
Then the Savannah is interesting. Savannah is Mohammed's home region, but Bawumia does extremely well.
Yeah, among MPP supporters.
Yes,
83% for Bawumia and 13% for Alan.
So Bawumia's strongholds: Northeast region 78, Savannah 83, Upper East 78, Upper West 69. So he's going to sweep the North.
North, yes.
Wow. Where is his weakest? Where is Bawumia's weakest?
Here it will be
probably
Western. It's barely
Western
40%.
Yes, Western region is his weakest.
40% Western region.
And who does well there?
Western region is Alan is 41, barely 42%. So it's not that.
Okay.
It's tight.
So the regions that Alan beats Bawumia among MPP supporters is Volta and Western.
Western.
Those are the two regions he beats Bawumia.
Yeah.
Wow. So even Western North, Bawumia wins.
Yes, Western North Bawumia leads.
And Kennedy's strongest regions are Eastern
and Bono
region.
Yes.
And that's creditably in Ashanti as well.
Yes, 20% Ashanti, which is quite big.
Wow. It seems as if Alan does well where NDC is strong. Because if you look at Volta region, he gets 60%.
Voter, yes.
Yes, Alan does well.
50%, yes.
And then he does well in some other... These are very interesting numbers. You did... Okay, the other problem here is that even though Bawumia is doing well, when you add Alan and Kennedy, do they get more than Bawumia?
Now, if you go into a runoff,
yeah,
that is where it gets a bit tricky. Now, so for Bawumia to survive...
Okay, so let's pause it there and then come back and deal with that. So I think it's a very interesting angle. So even though Bawumia is leading in the poll, Mussa will tell us what happens if there's a runoff. Because if you look at what Alan and Kennedy get together, and based on the questions about if there's a runoff, who you will vote for, there are some interesting numbers which will determine what will happen in the case nobody wins outright. We'll come and deal with that when we come back. Stay with us.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Finally, anyone can become a household.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Flip, a real estate gaming platform that allows you to play and stand a chance of winning a house or cash or consolidated funds, such as savings towards a house. Simple and easy to play. Visit www.ugoflip.com. Buy a ticket to enter the game. Wait for the end of the game to enjoy the win. Anyone can win. Flip it or own it. This advertisement has been vetted and approved by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Play responsibly, not for persons below 18 years, and gaming can be addictive.
With Global, you order anything you want, and when you receive it, you celebrate it with your whole body. Because when that tasty grilled chicken is here, the weekend starts. The ingredients for your favorite recipe just in time. And when the cake arrives, the party is on. Because receiving anything on Global deserves a dance. Download the app, order anything you want, and track it minute by minute until it arrives. Global. Order anything, we deliver in minutes.
Welcome back. This is The Point of View. Tonight we're looking at the Global Info Analytics latest numbers on national opinions on many things. The NPP figures are very interesting. Among NPP voters, Dr. Bawumia is now in a good lead, 50% from 39. Alan has improved, but his numbers have come down among NPP supporters, 37 to 33. Kennedy has also come down. So Bawumia's lead among NPP voters is strong. But the question is, if there were a runoff, what would happen? Because even though Bawumia's lead is 50, he doesn't necessarily cross. So if it doesn't cross the first past the post in the thing, there will be a runoff.
Yes.
If you look at, so did you tackle that?
Yes, we did, to see who voters would prefer if they were to decide in a runoff scenario.
Okay.
Now, among all voters, among all Ghanaians, when we asked them that question, 54% of them said they would vote for Alan.
So that is a question that pitches two people.
Yes, two people.
If there's a runoff election between, which is a hypothetical question, because this question will only happen
if there's no clear winner in the runoff.
And this is actually only for NPP people, because there's no way Alan and Bawumia will go into a runoff in a national election.
No.
So this is a hypothetical question.
A question for
so
the
it's like,
primaries.
Which of the two do you like?
Yes.
Among all voters?
Absolutely.
And what did you get?
54% of them said they would prefer Alan.
This is very strange.
And
so
then 46% said they would prefer Bawumia.
So this includes NDC floating?
Yes. Yes.
So he's more popular nationally?
Nationally, yes.
So it's not that strange. But when you ask NPP people,
when you ask
to
NPP
compare
people,
the two men, what do they say?
The table turns. 45% for Alan and 55% for Bawumia.
This is quite interesting, which is why you can tell that Alan's campaign has been also meeting different groups, chiefs and things. He's sort of marketing himself as the one who can help MPP get floating voters.
Maybe he's identified that within MPP he's not as strong as he ought to be. And that his trump card will be that, look, I'm the one that can give Mahama a run for his money. So I'm better off being a candidate for MPP than the other candidate.
So he knows that Bawumia is more popular than him in the party.
Yes.
But he's probably saying, I'm more popular in the country.
In the country.
So use me instead.
And probably saying that the ultimate prize is not the primaries, it's the presidency.
Did you try and ask people who voted for the third candidate, Kennedy Japan,
yes,
who they would prefer?
Yes, we did.
What did you find?
In that split, you realize that 21% of Ken supporters would vote for Bawumia in a runoff.
21% of them?
Yes. They will switch and vote for Bawumia.
What about those who vote for Alan?
57% of Ken supporters will vote for Alan.
Wow.
And 22% said they will not vote. No Ken, no vote.
22%?
Yes. Higher than those who even vote for Bawumia.
Wow.
So there's a lot of work to be done within the Ken's team.
So Ken's votes are up for grabs?
About 22%
of his votes are up for grabs.
If you can convince them, then you might be doing a good job to yourself.
But as it stands now, if you look at the difference between Ken, I keep calling Alan and Bawumia. If 57% of Kennedy's voters go to Alan, will he beat Bawumia?
If that scenario happens, Bawumia will not survive.
You are sure of this?
Yes.
57% of, because, I mean, this is not a sign, but if you go to the numbers among, okay, is this a national figure?
This one is
MPP affiliates.
This is MPP affiliates.
Because for the MPP voters, the figure for Alan was...
As it stands now, within MPP, there wouldn't be runoff because Bawumia is 50%.
I get you.
But in a scenario where there's no winner, in reality, as we've seen the delegate numbers, which is critical, if Bawumia doesn't win one touch among delegates, second round, he will be out.
But my interpretation of your figures, I mean, if we freeze the map to who to lead MPP, MPP voters, Bawumia is 50.
Yes.
Alan is 33.
Yes.
Ken is 16.
16.
Now, if all the 16 even came to Alan, it will still be 49.
Yes, so that I'm saying that...
And now that only 57% of his voters say they will vote for Alan, if you add this to his 33, Bawumia still wins.
That's why he wins in the runoff among MPP's voters. Remember, MPP 55 for Bawumia and 45 for Alan.
So
what
Alan
I'm talking about...
Alan may have to improve his numbers and get all of Kennedy's numbers to upset
most,
Bawumia.
Not all, most, yes.
To upset Bawumia. Because as things stand now...
Remember, in the delegate, those who are allowed to vote, the numbers are not as straight as here.
Okay, so are you saying that Kennedy does better among MPP delegates?
Yes.
When you did your poll?
Yes. No. Among the delegates, he was on 12.5%.
Okay.
Among the party supporters, he's around 16%.
What about Alan?
Alan is almost, in fact, he does better in the MPP supporters than in the delegates.
So Bawumia actually does better among delegates than the two of them?
Yes.
That goes back to my point. That means that he's in the lead.
Among the delegates.
Yes.
We saw that in the poll. He was in the lead between in June when we did the poll.
So this type of poll that you did in July and April, the next one will be when? October. So you'll be looking at whether there's the trend is what we should be looking at.
Yes, and we'll also be doing, remember, we'll be doing delegate 1-2 in October, the same October. Before so we'll have the delegate numbers ready, and we can see the general MPP voters also alongside the Ghanaian.
But you're not going to do anything for the
super delegate
because they are too few.
They are too few.
So you can't properly sample them.
No,
it's too complicated.
Even if you sample them, where are you going to get them and talk to them? They won't even pick.
But you have 208,000 voters for November.
Yeah.
And you're going to sample them to do
the final one before the primaries.
Wow. What did the June one say to us?
The June one said that it is up for grab because Bawumia was leading 35%, and Alan was on 28%, and Ken was 12.5%. With the whopping 24% said they will not tell us or they are not decided. So that is where.
So when it comes to delegates, a lot of them don't talk.
Yeah, they don't talk.
Wow. This is interesting. Finally, when you compare them to on the national level, what was John Mahama is a candidate, right? So
yes.
Show me the most important thing. John Mahama, did you compare him to Bawumia? Did you compare? What did you? Or what question do you ask about?
We asked them if Bawumia is the candidate for NPP in 2024, and he goes up against Mahama, who would you vote for?
And what did you get?
55% of Ghanaians said they would vote for John Dramani Mahama.
So when you compare Mahama to Bawumia, 55 Mahama, what percent for Bawumia?
37 for Bawumia.
Wow. So it's a clear lead. And how does it compare to April?
April, in fact, Mahama has remained steady.
55.
But Bawumia has dropped from 38 to 37%.
Which is not that significant.
No.
So Mahama leads Bawumia by almost
18% or something like that.
What about when you compare Mahama to Ken?
Alan.
Forgive me.
When you compare Mahama to Alan, Mahama is on 54% and Alan on 39%.
So that's a slice. So Mahama is in a very strong position.
Very strong position.
Wow.
Regardless of who MPP elects.
So Mahama 54 in April, 54 in July.
Yeah.
Alan
40 in April and 39 in July.
Did you compare Mahama to Kennedy Japan?
We did that last time, but we felt he's not going to be a flag bearer for MPP, so we're just wasting our time.
How do you know? So Mahama's lead against the two front runners is
about 18% against
over 15%
with Alan and 18 for Bawumia.
Wow.
It's a huge lead.
And someone else is how much?
Someone else in Alan's case is about 7% now. Wow. And in Bawumia is about 8%.
So as of July 2023, John Mahama is the man to beat.
Yes.
Whoever wins for MPP.
Yes.
John Mahama is the person to beat.
Yes.
That is interesting. And Alan's performance against John is not that significantly different from Bawumia's. It's just 1%, 2%.
Yeah, but with the margin between them is about 3%, because Mahama leads Bawumia by 18% margin. He leads Alan by 15%. So the gap between 18 and 15 is what Alan is bringing to the table for now.
It's a lot to think about. Wow, it's amazing. Well done. This is incredible. I mean, this is amazing. Well, we'll see. That's the show for tonight. This is Mussa Dankwa. So, I mean, let's debate. Send me a comment. Let me hear from you. Do you agree with him? Do you have your own poll? Let's talk. Let's argue with numbers. Let's not argue with sentiments. Thank you for watching. Mussa, always a pleasure having you. We'll see you next time on The Point of View. Bye-bye.
The Point of View is brought to you by Bellpack. Bellpack, just perfect.